Hi guys, welcome to this tutorial. I'm looking in this session at at paper 2 of the AQA summer 2019 paper, and I'm actually going to look today for a bit of a change at question 5. It's a question I've not done many tutorials on, to be honest, and I think some of it, honestly, is that I'm a bit bone idle and a bit lazy, and you know, it's quite a chunk of writing, but I know quite a few of you guys have been asking me to do like a full response to this. I've done some boxing to argues, I've done openings, but you want to see kind of what does a full mark kind of response look like. So I've stopped being lazy and, you know, I've put myself in your shoes and tried to write a full response that I could hopefully kind of talk through. So we know that for this question, you're always going to get some kind of a quote, some kind of a statement, and you're responding to that statement. Now, as I always say, you shouldn't refer to the statement in your response. View it as you've read or seen this somewhere and it's just got you thinking about this topic. But please, 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 please don't say, I agree with the statement above. You just shouldn't refer to it. And again, the questions aren't worded helpfully. So this is looking, isn't it, about the people we value in society, and saying that actually people with skills and courage, these are the ones who should be famous, not just people who are attractive or have a lot of money or behave badly. Okay, so I don't need for this, as long as I've got a dear Sir or Madam or to whom it may concern, that's fine. If you want, you can put an address in to make sure it's got that kind of convention of a letter. But as long as I've got something in it that flags that form, that's okay. So I do, and there's a video somewhere on it that I've done about boxing to argue. It's a framework. I did pinch it from another school. It's not my invention, but I really like it as a structure. You think about, we touch gloves in a boxing match. You show respect to your opponent, and I think any good bit of argumentative writing should do that. So writing to argue isn't actually about getting into a fight. If you think about an argument, it should back and forth. It should consider alternative points of view, whilst really promoting your own. So I quite often talk to my students about we all want to live in a world where, don't we, as an opening structure, because it works for pretty much any topic you're going to get, and it creates a commonality with your reader. We all want this. It shows actually we are united, we've got things in common. So in this, I'm engaging with the ideas of it, but trying to use alternative synonyms where possible. So we all want to live in a world where talent, bravery and commitment are prized attributes, admirable qualities which rightly achieve acknowledgement and rewards, don't we? So I'm really I'm putting that rhetorical thing out there. I'm trying to find that common ground with my reader. So we've got something there in common. And you can see I've got some complexity in my vocab and also my sentence structure here, using a semicolon to introduce that more complex sentence. Surely, and that surely gives a real confidence, surely it is those who represent the very best of us, those who selflessly and courageously serve a purpose greater than Instagram likes, that deserve our respect and plaudits. Plaudits meaning praise. And you sort of say, surely this, and it makes it quite hard to argue with that point. Isn't it time, especially given the dire circumstances of the recent pandemic, for our influencers to be our NHS staff, police and teachers? Clearly our real heroes work in ICU wards, should have put that, wards, saving lives rather than selling fake tan or teeth whiteners. So in the boxing to argue structure, a jab would be like a strong point that it's hard for someone to kind of argue with. You know, it's hard to argue that in the last 18 months, the people who really deserve money and praise are, you know, people from Love Island, when you're looking at, you know, nurses, doctors in ICU wards. So it's a strong opening. Okay, now I'm going to go on to, I haven't labelled this actually, but this is my rumble. Now in a boxing to argue structure, you rumble, you back and forth, as it would in a boxing match. So I'm going to introduce a counter argument, which I'm going to try to destroy. So some might cite examples from the world of sport and celebrity, arguing that a number of individuals from these areas are involved with charitable works or acts of altruism. Indeed, the impressive campaigning of footballers such as Marcus Rashford really do demonstrate the significant power of famous people, and in such instances we can all admire his achievements in securing more funding for poorer families. So this is my counter-argument. I'm going, absolutely, there are famous and rich people who do amazing stuff. And like I say, nobody is debating this. A bit of an impact sentence to underline that. However, counter-argument, there are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of voiceless, nameless, faceless volunteers who strive daily to improve the lives of those within their local community. Should their exhausting, tireless dedication to this work be any less valuable than the actions of one highly paid footballer? So my counter-argument is like, okay, he's one person, but what about all these others? Notice here how I use a list of 3 to back up the fact that, you know, we don't acknowledge, we don't recognise people. And also really using this kind of emotive language, to talk about in this noun phrase, the exhausting and tireless dedication. And just, the subtlety of saying highly paid footballer is just reminding people, okay, he's doing good stuff, but let's be honest, he still earns millions. So Rashford, and again, I'm rumbling here, I'm totally on board with other people's points of view. So I say Rashford's an example of a fantastic role model, but all too many famous people lack much of his public spirited social awareness. Instagram is dominated by bleached, tweaked, tanned celebrities who use their platforms to shamelessly flog products and dreams to young people. Teeth whitening, fake tans, cosmetic enhancements and weight loss pills, a sordid list of superficial fixes which do nothing for the greater good and in reality harm the mental health of millions. So I've said, yep, brilliant, totally agree with you, Rashford, great guy, doing really good stuff, but he's won against a tide of kind of superficial celebrities and famous people. And, I'm using listing here again too as kind of a technique to make sure that people are aware of the kind of superficial nature of some of these famous people. So their fame is undeserved. Their talent is questionable. So see how I'm using inverted commas here to kind of have a degree of sarcasm. And this is sort of, it's actually called syntactic parallelism, if you're interested in the word. But I've structured this. Their fame is so-and-so, their talent is so-and-so else. It reminds me of cannon to the left of them, cannon to the right of them. It just sort of reiterates a point. Their message, rhetorical question here, look good and sell yourself to the highest bidder. What a revolting, repugnant state of affairs. And whilst they prostitute themselves and party in Dubai with their other talentless, vacuum-minded Love Island alumni, our NHS staff are dying on COVID wards. So really kind of emotive. I've juxtaposed the kind of frivolity of famous people living it up in Dubai with kind of real heroes, I suppose, and use a really kind of emotive point. My vocab here is sophisticated and emotive. Public sector workers, brackets, NHS, police, teachers, are our frontline heroes. Whilst famous millionaires hide inside their mansions, many of our everyday people have kept the country from collapsing during the pandemic. Rather than sending jaunty videos from their lockdown palaces like our celebrities have, millions of ordinary people have shown themselves to be utterly extraordinary. So again, what I'm doing is compare it to kind of make this point here. I'm comparing the behaviour of, the point I want to make is around famous people and hiding away, and from their lockdown palaces or so here, whilst famous millionaires hide inside their mansions, in their lockdown palaces, I'm almost implying, aren't I, a sense of cowardice, as though they're kind of deliberately keeping away, and that serves to just highlight the kind of bravery of normal people who've been doing frontline work. And I've used some some interesting ways of sort of, with language here, ordinary people have shown themselves to be extraordinary, so there's a degree of mirroring there. What a debt of gratitude we owe these remarkable individuals. The financial disparity between the earnings of a nurse and a puff-lipped, cheek-filled, beautiful reality star is sickening. Okay, quite a strong point of view here. And again, don't, you know, before anyone comes for me, this isn't about it's great if it is your personal point of view as well, but you're just you just have to present a point of view, whether it's yours or not. I have nothing against Molly-Mae or anyone that I've referenced. It's just using using examples that are kind of, can be culturally significant to people, that people will be aware of and will have some knowledge of. So again, it doesn't need to be your own personal reflections on someone. So compare influencer Molly-Mae Hague's millionaire status with the £25,000 salary of a nurse. How is this obscene difference justifiable or morally right? So kind of building ourselves up into quite a strong perspective here. Such individuals are not evil or awful people. And again, this is where you've got to tread that fine line between having a good, strong perspective but not alienating someone who likes Molly-Mae or someone who doesn't agree with you. So it's about having a balance and not being offensive as such. So many of them seem perfectly, so I've said, you know, they're not evil or awful people. Many of them seem perfectly pleasant. But the issue is this: we live in a society that values makeup tutorials more than nurses holding the hands of dying COVID patients. And that is a problem. Okay, so I've kind of, you know, I've gone with this quite a strong point. Could be controversial, but, you know, I've sort of brought it back down to go, look, this isn't about any individual. I'm not here spreading hate to a specific person. This is about exemplifying a bigger problem. Okay, so then see how we use listing here. So fire crews, the police, our NHS, our teachers, our RNLI, our lorry drivers, our shop workers, our food bank volunteers. These are the best of us. These are the people who, when our very existence is under threat, will keep us going, who might even save our lives one day. So this is quite a powerful, you know, you can see I'm building myself up to my conclusion. I'm sort of identifying who, in my belief, are the people at the heart of society. You know, I'm linking it back to those early ideas that the task itself was asking us to think about, which is, you know, who are the people who deserve to be famous? Okay. Now you can see, you know, no one is above going wrong and having to think back and improve what they're saying. So this is certainly the case with me. I did this, I really just wasn't happy with it. I didn't think it was that good. I have no qualms about students doing this. Ideally do it a bit more neatly than I have done, single lines through it, but it's fine. Get rid of it, move on. So I'm coming to my conclusion now, so I want to, in the boxing to argue structure, I'm coming to a jab, so a strong point, which, you know, my opponent, to use that boxing language, can't get back up from. So I'm going to finish with, rather than spoiled brats who are overpaid and overvalued, isn't it time for a recalibration? Again, just think about vocab making sophisticated choices like this. If there is anything good that might come out of the devastating pandemic, perhaps it is a greater sense of what really matters. Not all heroes wear capes. In fact, most heroes look very ordinary. Maybe now is the time to concentrate on the inner skill, talent, dedication, and innate goodness of those who don't have 1 million Instagram subscribers. Okay, so I am, you know, going to give myself 40 out of 40 for this. The things I've done in terms of skill, I've used lots of technique. I've used, you know, persuasive and argue, you know, writing to argue techniques. I've used sophisticated vocab. I've used a range of sentence types, range of sentence structures, as high levels of accuracy in everything I've done, although I'm only human and undoubtedly I'll have made some mistakes along the way. I'm already looking at the number of inverted commas I used and thought it was too many. So it's a developed response, isn't it, to that task. It really kind of conveys my perspectives and my point of view. So again, you're looking over this. This is, you know, that's half a side, 1, 2, 3. It's basically 4 sides I've written. Now I timed myself and it took me like 30 minutes to do this, I think. So obviously you get 45 minutes, and I would say, you know, remember I'm an English teacher, and you would expect me to be able to do it a bit quicker, but for you guys, please don't sacrifice time, you know, because this is worth half of all your marks for the paper, and it, you know, time spent on this is time well spent. And that's why when we talk about doing this question, I always advise doing them in the following order. Because that question too, it's worth 8 marks, and you know, students spend a lot of time on it, they lose time, they run out of time for section B. So if you can, I really would encourage you to do this first. Do this one, because it's less connected to your reading questions and things anyway. Have a look at the Boxing to Argue video. I might try and do an updated one of that, but hopefully you can see the way in which, you know, you create a relationship with your reader, you come in with strong points, you have counter arguments, you have quite a strong point, but then you bring it back, and at the end you kind of have a really good strong conclusion to kind of support your ideas. Okay, I hope that was useful in just seeing what a full mark developed response to a paper 2 section B could look like. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time.